Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We don't have anybody on Zoom, right? No. Okay. Just us. Okay, just the public. We would like to acknowledge that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and St'át'imc Nations. I have an agenda recommendation.
That the amended agenda of this meeting be approved.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second? Thank you, Celeste. All in favor? Great. And we have 2 minutes recommendations. So could I have the first one, please?
That the minutes of the board meeting held on May 13th, 2026 be adopted.
Thank you, Lisa. And a second. Thank you, Celeste. And all in favor? And that's carried. And the second recommendation.
That the summary minutes of the in-camera board meeting held on May 13th, 2026 be adopted.
Thank you, Lisa. And a second. Thank you, Celeste. And all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, now I've just got to find my notes. Where did I put them? No. There. Okay. Okay, we good?
Yep.
Okay, so we're moving down to announcements, and the first is chairperson's remarks. So it has been a very busy June. I was able to attend the Pride March about a week and a half ago. It was pretty well attended, given that it was off on weather kind of a day. It's nice in Squamish. You just, you feel welcomed. You don't feel anything except that. So we had a really lovely day, marched with a fairly significant number of people from Sea to Sky. So that was nice. I was joined by Chris and Celeste from this table.
And me.
And you. So that was fun. The next thing I attended was the branch president's meeting. And if you all read the sort of monthly, we try, Cynthia and I try to do a monthly newsletter out to the branch. All of the points that were in the newsletter came out of my branch meeting. So I won't bore all of you with that. Then I also had last night, Chris and I and others from Sea to Sky attended the Indigenous grad, and we had the huge honor of being blanketed by Squamish Nation. So, and completely a surprise. We were sitting there and they called us up, and I couldn't figure it out because I'd already given my graduation speech and all the things, and we're looking at each other. We couldn't figure out what it was. And then when I saw the 4 people standing in front of us with the blankets, the waterworks came. Felt like such a special moment, because it was also for me, it was Joy, who I've known for years, and she actually remembered that she taught my own children when they were in preschool, and that was over 30 years ago. So it was Joy who was there, and Shar. So it was really a beautiful time. So we had a really nice night. I also attended the chairperson's meeting, and we talked about, one of the things we talked about was the upcoming election. And I'm not sure if we're showing the video here or where we're showing it. Are we showing it here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the chairperson's meeting, they directed us to the BCSTA website, where they have put 2 really valuable election videos. One about what it means to be, like, if you were going to run as a trustee, what that actually is and what it isn't. And then the role of the trustee once you become. So I asked Archie if she would play the 2 videos for it, so that the public can also see. So go ahead, Archie. They're short. The videos are short.
They don't look like superheroes. Just everyday people, like your neighbor, community member, advocate, parent. They're school trustees, locally elected heroes, championing public education for the children of British Columbia, because not every hero wears a cape. Run to become your community's local school trustee on October 17th. Learn more at bcsta.org/elections.
Here's the second one, the role of the trustee.
Every child who walks through the doors of a BC public school is shaped by the decisions made at a board table. And at the heart of those board decisions are locally elected school trustees. School trustees are the local governance leaders of public education in BC. They serve on their school district's Board of Education, providing governance and direction for their district, shaping learning outcomes for more than 550,000 students province-wide. School trustees fulfill 5 essential responsibilities. They set strategic direction. Working collaboratively with their board, trustees establish and set the policies that shape how and what children learn. They develop their district's strategic plan, the roadmap that guides decisions, priorities, and resource allocation to ensure every decision made at the board table supports student achievement and reflects the needs of students and families in their community. They govern finances responsibly and make tough decisions. Trustees oversee significant public funds, holding fiduciary responsibility for public resources with transparency and accountability. They approve annual school budgets, capital plans, and ensure every dollar supports student success and well-being. They hire and support leadership. Trustees appoint the superintendent, the school district's chief executive officer, and establish effective governance systems without managing day-to-day operations. They champion community priorities. Trustees work alongside their community, including parents, First Nation communities, local government, and organizations to strengthen public education in their community. It's one of the most consequential roles in local government and one of the most community-rooted. They're the local voice and bridge between BC communities and schools. This connection ensures that governance decisions in the school system reflect community values and local needs while advancing equity and excellence for every student. And above all, they're accountable for something profound: improving outcomes for every student in their community, from the policies they set to the resources they prioritize. But what makes a great trustee goes beyond governance. A great trustee holds a deep conviction that all learners deserve equitable educational outcomes. They don't just acknowledge barriers, they actively work to remove them. BC's next school trustee election is October 17th. This election, keep community voices at the heart of public education. Shape how BC's local schools are governed and run for school trustee. Visit bcsta.org/elections to learn more.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Archie. And so now we know it's on our website, and if anybody is interested in running, or you could point them in this direction. The meeting was quite extensive. When in talking about the elections, if you'll notice when the elections come up, Caroline Bradley will be the face of BCSTA because she is no longer seeking re-election. So they can't have Tracy Loeffler because that would be an unfair advantage to her running in her own district. So you'll notice that the face will be Caroline Bradley.
Brody.
Sorry. Brody. I do know a Caroline Bradley. Okay, so they're also really monitoring very closely the situation that's happening currently with boards in Ontario. And they have said, like, because it was asked, that is not on the radar in British Columbia. So not to worry, but it is happening in Ontario and it is on the radar in Alberta. So we may find that there are some provinces in Canada who will no longer have school boards. Trevor, who's the fellow that's our CEO, and he spoke about operations. He talked about CSBA, that it's been sold out for quite a while, which is good news. I mean, you know, I always think it's because of the area in which we live. So we're drawing all kinds of people. It's been a lot of hard work for those people at BCSTA, especially people like Gordon. They talked about the policy work, which I spoke up earlier in the meeting today, and they really emphasized that the BCSTA is here to guide us, not to direct us. So it's just that, it's a supportive role. What else were they talking about? Again, they were talking about the kinds of things that we're going to offer at Academy and AGM this year as far as learning, and it will be back to that first year governance kinds of stuff. Although I think we'll probably will still get really good keynote speakers. Apparently in the weekly this week, there was a whole article on sharing tough meetings. So if I guess maybe that's where I should look. I haven't read it yet, but apparently it's in there. Invest in kids like you mean it. The importance of elected trustees. So I think that BCSTA is really focusing on this now because of the situation happening in Ontario and possibly Alberta. So that's what I learned from the chairperson's meeting, and I think that that's all I have to say under chairperson's remarks is, so we could move on to trustee remarks. Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, June was May and June have been a really busy month. We had the strategic direction meeting here on June 20th, which was amazing. I'm really glad that we're part of that. And Chris, thank you for always putting on a really good, thoughtful, thought-provoking day. I appreciate all the work that goes into that from everybody involved. And then we had the Calhoun School Learning Plan. It's always really great to hear from them. And then we went and visited them, which was such an amazing day. Jill just pulled out all the stops. It was wonderful. And we had Chief Brock Peters there and Lorna Andrews. Oh, I'm really sorry. That's really awful of me to forget her last name. She's an elder who had us on her property and told us the most beautiful stories of her childhood. I could have listened to that woman all day.
Oh, Martina.
For days.
Martina.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies. And then this past Saturday, I attended the KSS grad, which was really awesome. All of the speeches were so fantastic, and the kids looked like just beautiful young adults. And as one of the speakers said, you look at them and you think the kids are going to be okay. They're going to be all right. From a song. I don't remember that song. But. And then I would like to say that the new trees have been planted at Signal Hill Elementary, and they look great. They're so big. There's so much shade. The kids are all over them. I'm sure being reminded to not climb them. And there's a giant sunshade there as well over one of the sand pits. Unfortunately, the sand pit is super full of wasps.
Oh.
So the kids are staying away from it at this time until they figure out the wasp situation. The wasps have been there forever, but the kids have not really played in the sand because it's always been so hot. Anyway, and then I would like to give a shout out to Miss Ray, who was not at the retirement dinner this year. So she just announced her retirement a little bit ago, and thank her for 30 years as an EA and crosswalk extraordinaire at Signal Hill. She's already greatly missed. She's a wonderful human who is now moving on to retirement, being a lovely human with a grandkid.
Thank you, Melissa. Celeste, go ahead.
So I just have a brief report. I won't report on things that have already been reported out on. DPAC met Monday of this week. A few things that I wanted to say about DPAC. So there still is no PAC rep on DPAC for Blackwater Creek Elementary or Statmus. So if anybody is considering serving in one of those roles, I would strongly recommend joining your PAC and considering serving on DPAC. The meetings are about 6 times a year, and the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and a trustee are always in attendance. There's a lot of good advocacy that goes on through DPAC, and I won't go through everything that we discussed, but the one thing that I did want to highlight, which perhaps you'll be speaking about, Chris, is the accessibility form application. Is that the accessibility committee form application? Is that also on our website, or is that, yes?
Yeah, it's on our website. And
Okay.
I believe it's complete. I think they
Is it
met
done?
yesterday.
Okay.
to approve or
Okay,
approve,
that,
welcome the two parents. Thank you. who put
Perfect,
their
okay.
names forward. So
Okay.
that was-
amazing. And so that was through DPAC. So
Mhm.
staying in the know about all of these opportunities to impact what's happening in the district, DPAC is a really important place to be. And the only other thing that I wanted to raise as a future agenda item, please, is I'd heard just a bit of chitter chatter about concern around declining enrollment in French immersion, possibly at the middle school level here in town. So just as something that I would love to hear more about in the fall, not today, but there are whisperings of that being of concern, and I wanted to bring that up here. And that's all I've got for you.
Lisa, go ahead.
Well, I got to attend 2 very amazing graduation ceremonies. The first at Howe Sound Secondary School. It was beautiful. It was a 2-minute speech for each Chris and I, and 2 great parents. One, Stephen Fryer, who's a good friend of mine from hockey, and we banter back and forth. He also had a speaking part, and it was really great. It was the biggest graduation class. There were 300 awesome students that walked the stage, and yeah, it was pretty awesome. And then I got to represent us at Whistler Secondary School for the first time and paid our respects for Cynthia and Rachel. And one of the really interesting things that I saw in the Howe Sound grad, I said to the kids from when they were little that their most important piece of equipment is their smile. And I got to tweak the one for Whistler. And there was this one young man, his name was River, and he was sat in the front row. And every single student that came past him on that side, all high five, he was high fiving everybody. He was smiling, all the things. So I went a little off script on my speech, and I was like, these are the things that matter. Your smile is your most important piece of equipment. And River has not stopped smiling. I'm sure there's great people on the other side of the room as well, but this is the impact your smile has on those around you. So I thought it was a really great speech. It was very different from Whistler or from Howe Sound. And I think obviously because of volume of enrollment, but it was wonderful. We got to hear what the future endeavors are for those students in Whistler. We've got 3 potential teachers coming down the line. We've got 2 potential lawyers. We've got an abundance of engineers. We've got mechanics. We've got 1 electrician and a bunch of administrative and gap year students looking to the future. So it was really, really nice. So thank you for the invitation.
Great. Okay, moving on, superintendent's remarks.
Okay, well, as folks may know, coming up, I have quite a large presentation to provide as a year overview. But I do want to touch on a few things. Always like to bring people's attention to the calendar, important dates and the months that we celebrate in recognition of various things. So reminder that June is National Indigenous History Month, with June 21st being Indigenous Peoples Day. So again, all of our all the information about these important observances are found on our district website. So I really would encourage people to click on those links to learn more. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone around the table that as a district, we obviously remain committed to the work at all levels to respond to the calls to action of truth and reconciliation, especially as they pertain to education. And in related news, I'll share that on Friday, May 22nd, so about a week or so after our last board meeting, students, staff, families, and elders all gathered on the shared and unceded territories of the Leewat Nation and the Squamish Nation at the Roundhouse Lodge on Whistler Mountain. This was the gathering to bring together the Indigenous leadership students from across the district, where they celebrated community, culture, and connection. Students spent time learning with knowledge carriers Tom Williams and Becky Campbell, participating in small group teachings and conversations before coming together to share lunch. The afternoon was filled with drumming, singing, and dancing as students gathered together in circle atop the mountain, with a closing reflection circle at the end of the day, led by Tanina Williams from the Leewat Nation, where each participant shared one word to capture their experience. Feathers were shared with participants in recognition of their learning, leadership, and contributions throughout the year. And a special thank you goes out to Vale Properties that run Whistler Blackcomb, because they provided the venue, the tickets up the mountain, and plenty of snacks and drinks for free.
Wow.
So our
Go
big,
Vale.
big thank you, Kuchtum Cow and Uklamuch and Haicha in Squamish for that very generous offer. It was a glorious day. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but I know everyone had a wonderful time up there, and just a big thank you to all the staff that also went to support the students. And again, on our website, our communications officer, Jen Armstrong, bought some beautiful, beautiful photos. So, also, of course, June, you mentioned earlier, is Pride Month. And yeah, it was a real pleasure to be part of the parade this year. So we had an entry, we had a beautiful banner, and lots of folks join us, and hoping we'll have an even bigger turnout next year. And two more things I want to also acknowledge. I'm going to talk about grad in a second, but I want to acknowledge the incredible number of wonderful year-end celebrations that happen across the district. So from sports days to end of elementary school celebrations. We were finishing a strategic planning meeting we'll talk about later up at Myrtle Phillip Community School. And we were given strict instructions to please bring chairs back into the gym, but to be mindful of the decorations, because the grade 6 students had beautifully decorated the gym, including long strands of stars that you would pass through to get to the gym in order to honor their grade 7 peers who were moving on to Worcester Secondary School. So big thank you to all the staff, the volunteers, the families that put so much into ensuring that these important milestones in our children's lives, regardless of their age or grade, are celebrated so well. Which will bring me to the end, to again, big congratulations, as people have said, to all of our grads this year. For the first time, unfortunately, due to some scheduling issues, I did not attend the Whistler grad. So really glad to hear from Lisa how well it went, and heard lovely things from Pam Craven, who spoke on the district's behalf, from staff at that event. And yes, I did attend How Sound, where you mentioned it was the largest grad class. Also attended Pemberton Secondary School, also their largest grad class of 85 students, 78 of which were in attendance to cross the floor. And again, always an honor to attend, and obviously to be honored at the Indigenous grad ceremony at Totem Hall. And I want to share also the beautiful gesture of the Squamish Nation that has always invited all students of Indigenous ancestry. So First Nations, Métis, Inuit, who are who graduate from their territory to be a part of that event. So I'll go in there.
Just to interject there, Whistler Secondary, it was their 3rd year anniversary for their graduates.
Okay.
And it was.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, and it was also the first graduating class out of their full French immersion for.
Wow.
Lots of
Sorry,
firsts.
when you-
No,
when
that's
you spoke
wonderful.
to that, I thought I should mention
Yeah.
that also.
That's fantastic.
I also.
Banner year.
oh, sorry. I also would like to add to Chris's, because I spoke about the way in which we were honored, but I didn't speak about the way in which the graduation of the Indigenous students, and I love the piece of their ceremony where each child gets up on stage and they have this PowerPoint. This is year 2 of it. And they have this PowerPoint behind them, and they must have been given some kind of form questions, but it talks about, their parents, the names of their parents. And anyways, one of the pieces was their favorite teacher. And, just to watch that, and then their most famous, and some of their moments were hilarious, like their most famous moment, right? And it was just, and I happened to see one of the grads that I'd met when I was teaching, and my class partnered with, actually it was Cam's class at Statmas at that time. And I saw a student that I remember from when she was, in grade 3, and just to watch her and how proud she was of being from her nation, and the way in which she carried that was just so lovely to see. And just watching the way there was another girl there too, and actually she got a lot of awards. Kelty, I think her name is Kelty, and she got a lot of awards last night from the Indigenous community. But she was another one of those students that was super shy, but the way she's embraced her culture, and that is what's carrying her forward, was that actual ability to be proud of who it is that she is. And so to see that last night was really warmed my heart. So thank you. I wanted to add that when I was listening to you speak about the Indigenous grad. Okay, so any more comment? Are we good, Chris? And everybody's good? Okay, moving on to Danielle, Secretary Treasurer's remarks.
I don't have anything other than questions of clarification from the public can be sent to board@sd48.bc.ca, and we will do our best to answer the questions at the end of the meeting if there are any, and they should also be related to agenda items from today.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now I'm seeing number 4, student staff presentation, school-wide truth and reconciliation project by Myrtle Phillip Community School, but are they coming online? Oh yeah, there's Brianne.
Brianne's here.
Okay, I see it.
Was it just Brianne coming? Is there anyone else or just Brianne?
Just me.
Hey, Brianne. Welcome.
Thank you. How's everyone doing?
So well.
Awesome. Just pulling up my slideshow here.
No pressure.
Would
Brianne,
you
but
like
this is usually our
Archie to
favorite
share?
part of our meeting, so
Yeah.
Okay.
no pressure.
What do I need to do?
Archie's gonna pull it up for you.
Okay. So then Archie's gonna pull it up. So
Here we go.
what do you guys see?
We can
We
see
see
the
a friendship
slideshow now.
blanket.
With a little heart.
Yep.
Yeah, title.
And if I do that, you can see me changing the slides.
No.
No, Archie's gonna,
Oh.
can you see her slides?
Archie will, can
Yeah.
Archie change the slides for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Archie. Okay, so Myrtle Phillip last year, it was a learning experience last year, just getting the lay of the land. And there was definitely, yeah, it was getting the lay of the land, and there was definitely a need for me to support teachers and families and kids with their truth and reconciliation, and how to access that and how to do it in a good and respectful way. At National Indigenous Peoples Day last year, we invited the SLCC to come and do some drumming with our kids. And it didn't go as I had imagined. And when I was reflecting on why it went the way it did and what I'd experienced up in Pemberton, it was that the kids didn't have the same exposure in Whistler as they do in Pemberton and Squamish, where half of the class is part of the nation, and it's the aunties and the uncles of their peers and their friends who are coming in and teaching the songs and whatnot. Whereas the kids in Whistler, they had no clue. And there was one particular song that the SLCC was singing, and it was the Chief Jimmy Jimmy song. And that's the one where the kids get to pretend to be the orca or the fox or the coyote, etc. And what they forgot was if everybody's dancing in the circle, then there's no circle. And it's not an Indigenous circle anymore. It's a mosh pit. And it was not the best performance, but it was when I talked to some kids at the end, I'm like, how can I expect much more? They have no idea. So we spent the year learning just the basic manners and protocols. We did our own Orange Shirt Day. We didn't invite the SLCC, and I explained to them why, like we've got some protocols to work on. And so we invited Leah Dan, Shelby Dan, and oopsies, I forgot to ask you to change my slide. Can you change my slide, please, Archie? Thank you. I'm not used to having control, not having control. So here's our land acknowledgement that we do, that we have on our website. So with gratitude and respect, we acknowledge that we live, learn, and work on the unceded traditional territory of the Lil'wat Nation. And we're thankful for the privilege of learning on this land, surrounded by its mountains, rivers, forests, and animals that have nourished people since time immemorial. As a school community, we are committed to listening, learning, and walking alongside Indigenous peoples in the ongoing work of truth and reconciliation. We honor knowledge, language, and stories of these nations, and we strive to ensure our actions reflect care for people and the land. So we worked on this as a staff back late last year and early this year as we were getting ready for our learning plan. And then Archie, if you can flip again. We had a vision statement. So working with Paul, we removed the Indigenous piece from the goal statement because it was convoluting things and making it really difficult for us to really see the data. So I didn't feel like we could actually leave the Indigenous content out of our learning and our learning plan. So we put it into a vision statement. So together we nurture compassionate, connected learners who think critically, act ethically, and engage deeply with truth and reconciliation and the possibilities of our shared future. Really hard to collect data on this, even at PSS as I was collecting data on how we were moving forward with truth and reconciliation. It was really anecdotal, so it's really difficult to collect that data. So I wanted it in the vision statement instead. Archie, if you could flip the slide. Thank you. So to anchor the staff and the students and the pack, we created this sort of circle and within circles of to show the method to our madness. So on the outside, we have truth and reconciliation. That's the ethical part of our learning plan and the realities that we have as Canadians and as educators. And then we look at the social, emotional, and belonging, critical thinking, and numeracy. So the friendship blanket falls within that outer circle for truth and reconciliation. Thank you. Archie, if you could flip. Thanks. Okay, and then flip again. So for truth, Myrtle Phillip, we are students, the students at Myrtle Phillip. We've got 3 Métis 3 who are Aleutian, and then we have 319 non-Indigenous kids. So that sort of paints the picture for you, as I was saying, where things happened pretty organically up in Pemberton, where it just made sense to infuse Indigenous culture, Lil'wat culture, and Aquatqua culture. But it's much harder at Myrtle Phillip. But the land is traditional and unceded territory of Lil'wat. The classrooms are named after the animals in Uhuamuch, but there's very little understanding of local protocols, as I described with the NIPD day last year. Flip again, please, Archie. So these are some pictures of the visibility of Indigenous learning around the school. We've got the classrooms are all named by different animals. There's a Truth and Reconciliation mural that a class did a few years ago. And then we have a commitment to Every Child Matters Orange Shirt Day that's been up all year. And then flip again, please, Archie. Thank you. So the truth is we've got some learning to do. So I worked with Steve Evans, Leah Dan, Shelby Dan, Gina Duncan, the Myrtle Phillip Pack, the Whistler Quilters Guild, and Signal Hill in order to do a blanket project. So we had learning to do, and then we have to reflect on our learning, consolidate it, and then we need to share it. So I met with Steve, well, I can't even remember when, but he's the one who collaborated with me on what we should do and just introducing the stories, highly engaging, and then having the kids reflect and then show their learning through art. So we brought Leah, Shelby, and Gina in, and they did the Charlie Mack stories in the library the 2 weeks after spring break. And the kids were thoroughly engaged with that. They loved it. And there were some lessons about how stories can be different in different cultures. And there's one part of the coyote story where I can't remember which character it is, but he loses his thumb. And then it's never talked about again. It's pretty dramatic. And then it's never talked about again in the story. And there was one kid who just was like, but what happened to the thumb? And the teacher's like, you're going to have to let it go. Just like Coyote had to let his thumb go because we don't know. But they were all really engaged with it. And so after they did their stories, they went back and had some discussions and connected their learning to whatever it was that they were learning personally or whatever they were learning in their class. And the pack was really helpful. They bought us a Cricut in order to do this project, and that's like a cutting machine. So just like imagine a bubble jet printer, like an old school bubble jet printer. This thing does the same thing, but it moves in 2 planes, X and Y, and it cuts things. It has different cutting blades that will cut different materials. So they bought that for us. Because we were going to make blanket squares. Every child made a blanket square. And then we had the Whistler Quilters Guild who sewed it together for us. And then, of course, because it's Lil'wat stories, we wanted to gift it to Signal Hill. Flip again, please, Archie. So we had our story time, and it was K to 7. Leah also did some work specifically with the upper intermediate classes on what the protocols are and the leadership role that they play in the school to translate the culture down to the littles. And so that was really important, where they were learning from someone with cultural authority. This is the way we behave. This is the importance of it. This is what it means, so that it resonated with them. And everybody did a really great job listening to that and respecting and asking really great questions. And then after they did that little lesson with Leah, that's when their little buddy classes would come in, and then they would have the full story, the more creative, fun stuff. And then flip again, please. And so we had all the kids, after they did that and had their discussions, the teachers got a symbol from each child as well as a color. So what symbolizes your learning? What are you connecting to in this story? How does it connect to your life and the other learning that you're doing? And what color matters to you? What color represents your learning? So every kid gave me their color and their symbol. And then we put together these little packages for them and they made their blanket squares. So some kids, the rock and the stones are really important, and the landslide into Duffy Lake is a really important part of the Coyote story. So rocks were very prominent, the canoe, and some of them were really typical mountains and rivers, different animals, and some of them were a little bit out there. But every single kid was able to justify their learning. Like the truck, there's a truck blanket square, and I asked him, I said, so tell me about the truck and how that connects. And he's like, well, Coyote traveled around, so obviously he needed a truck to get around. I'm like, okay, fair. Coyote needed a truck. Okay. Then there was a donut. And so I had to ask about the donut. She's like, well, and then same thing. She's like, we got hungry and I like donuts. And she identified with Coyote. She says, I'm a lot like Coyote and I really like donuts. So I think he probably would have eaten donuts. And the more we tried to get her to maybe think about other symbols, she's like, no, Coyote eats donuts. I eat donuts. And she actually really is a very similar character to Coyote. So we let the donut stand. So if you do get to see the blanket at Signal Hill and you see the Simpson style donut, that symbolizes her learning and her connection with Coyote. And so don't question it, because we had to stop questioning it as well. That's hers. And that's what's important. And if you could flip again, please, Archie. So after we had all of the classes, we made all the little packages and we delivered them to the classes and they put their packages together, their blanket squares together. Then this is where we had all the blanket squares go to the Whistler Quilters Guild. And so this is a not-for-profit organization / hobby club in Whistler. And 2 of our parents are actually members of it. And so Laura Vaness and her 3 daughters actually designed and organized all of the blanket squares for us. So that's Allie and Caroline in grades 2 and 4, organizing the blanket squares at home in their house. You can flip, please, Archie. Thank you. And then after the Whistler Quilters Guild finished sewing them all together, and they did it in like 6 days. They took all of those blanket squares and put them together, and then they brought it back to us, and we took the blanket around to every single class, and the kids got to see all the different blanket squares and find where theirs was. And some of them, I don't have a photo of it. Of course, I left my phone, but a couple of them, they wanted to actually pretend to sleep under it. So they got down on their carpet and they put the blanket over top of them. They didn't understand that it's like a piece of art. It's not an actual snuggly blanket. But yeah, they snuggled under the blanket and they were really proud of their work, and they were really excited to see all the different shapes. And they had some good, curious questions about the different shapes. And then other kids were making explanations for how the different shapes might connect. And so it was really cool. And flip again. And then we had to go to Signal Hill to drop it off. So I had the intention of just taking 6 kids because that's all I can fit in my car. And so they had to make an application. It was grade 5 and grade 6 kids because I wanted this learning to be transferred to next year. The grade 7s are going to take their learning and go up to Whistler Secondary. So I wanted the learning to stay at Myrtle. But the applications were they were too amazing. They were so fantastic that we had to let everybody join. So we had Laura Vaness, who was one of the from the Quilters Guild, as well as Melanie McIntyre, who is on-call clerical, as well as a parent. They drove with me and we went up to Signal Hill on May 12, 13, something like that. And Signal Hill was ready for us. It was a grade 4 or 5 class. They'd been practicing their drumming and they'd made us some cedar roses, and we did some songs. They did the welcome song and they did the the Marmot song for us because our mascot is the Marmot. So they sang the Marmot song for us. And then we were able to gift them the blanket. We opened it up and we explained it to them and why we were doing the learning. And we hoped that they would find a nice place in their school to put it. And then just remember the friendship that Signal Hill and Myrtle Phillip have for each other. And yeah, they were really happy to do that and receive it. And then if you could flip it again. Right. So this is my last slide. Next steps, we were doing some drumming with Shelby Dan today, actually, in preparation for NIPD, which is Friday. So the kids at Signal did an amazing job with their drumming, and the Myrtle kids were reflecting on that on the drive home back to Whistler. And they were like, oh, I didn't know that they could play the drums so well. And they could sing all those songs. And I was singing some of the songs as well. And they said, what words were you singing? And so I had to explain that the songs don't have words. It's repetitive chanting. And they just had so many questions about that. So we had Shelby come up today and she worked with the group of blanket kids. There was 13 of them. So she had the blanket kids plus some more kids who wanted to learn how to drum. And we got our plank drums out that the school made with Tanina. And we did a whole drumming lesson this afternoon in the sun in preparation for NIPD. So we've reinvited the SLCC to come back on Friday and we're going to try again. Not tomorrow because I won't be there, but on Friday morning, the big kids are going to be going around and talking about circle protocol to the littles. And then after recess, we've got the SLCC coming and they are going to be doing some drumming. And then the kids who did the drumming lesson and singing lesson today will be joining in with the SLCC to celebrate Indigenous culture in Whistler. And that is what we worked on with respect to Truth and Reconciliation learning at Myrtle Phillip this year. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Brianne. Do we have any questions, comments from trustees around the room? Go ahead, Lisa.
I just wanted to say that that's absolutely beautiful, recognizing a need and filling that need so beautifully.
I don't think she can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say that was absolutely beautiful, capturing a need or something that is missing per se that could be enhanced, and then executing it so beautifully and so intrinsically with all the students. That was such a commendable and amazing process to go through. So thank you very much.
Lisa? Melissa?
Hi, Brianne. Thank you for showing us that. Yes, everything that Lisa said, what a beautiful way to bring the two schools together and bring the culture into the school. Have you noticed a difference in your school after doing this project?
Friday's the test. Friday's the test.
Yeah.
Their hearts are good. Like I told when we brought the drummers out today, like I hadn't told any of the children how appalling. And I mean, like the appalling is because of what I've lived for the past like 15 years, like working up in Pemberton, working and living. They had no idea. Their hearts are good. Their hearts are open to the learning. They didn't know how to behave. So Friday's going to be the test. It needs to be structured learning because it doesn't happen organically. I'm confident. I'm really confident that with the structures that we've put in place and the learning that we've put in place, it's going to go much, much better. Plus, we're going to wait to do Chief Jimmy for another year or two because it's just too fun.
Celeste, did you have your hand up? Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brianne. It's interesting because when we were working on the strat plan or the ed plan yesterday, we talked about that and about bringing Indigenous ways of knowing to all of our schools, including schools like yours that doesn't have, the presence in the building. So I'm glad to see that there are ways to, that we're being creative and finding ways to bring the knowledge of Truth and Reconciliation to all the children in Sea to Sky. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. No easy feat to try and capture a whole year and then some in a 10-minute presentation. So.
Oh, yeah.
thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. Do
Thanks, Brianne.
you want me just to
You
leave?
can stay. We need the company.
You need the company?
Kind of get a bit lonely, not very many people join.
I've got two
Have a
kids.
lovely
Oh, and Chris,
evening, Brianne.
yes, Chris is doing his year in
Year-end.
review.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I've got to go and take a quiche out of the oven.
Okay.
Okay.
See you,
Thanks,
Brianne.
everyone.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay.
Funny.
I'm thinking she might get it tomorrow. But.
Well, and yes, that the staff will actually see a
Mm-hmm.
similar presentation tomorrow, so she's not getting out of it.
No, I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to spoil the surprise.
Right.
She's still on there, but she seems frozen.
I can just kick her out.
Okay.
Politely.
Kick
I kicked
away.
her out.
Kick away, Archie. Okay, I guess that turns us over to our superintendent's year in review presentation.
All right.
Take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm also going to share my screen in one minute with my multiple tabs. Of course, I just lost the Zoom. There it is. Share. Okay, so before I get started, just for everybody's reminder, each year at the beginning of the school year, we get lots of great information from the Ministry of Education in terms of what their priorities are for the upcoming year. And then, of course, we also provide those high-level things that we will be working on through each department each and every year. And this is now the review. So I'm going to share with you first what the ministry shared they were working on and what they actually did, and then we'll follow that with our district. And please note that a number of the items that the ministry were working on, obviously we worked on too. So if you don't quite see how that relates to the district, I'll ask you just hang on because you'll see it later in the slides. And before I embark, I'm just curious from the trustee's perspective. Would you rather me go through the entire deck and then wait for questions, or would you like me to pause after every couple slides? What's
How
preferable?
about
to the
if
team?
you have a question of clarification when it happens, just raise your hand and I will try to keep track of 3 other trustees. Maybe I can do that.
Keep it
Um,
good pace.
Okay,
Yeah, keep
I
a
will,
good
I will,
pace
I
and
will,
I'll
I will do my
watch.
best.
Just put your hand up if you have, because I think if you
Yeah.
wait for the whole
Sure.
presentation, we
It'll
might
be
we might lose the effect of the question.
absolutely, and I want to honor
I
as
will
well
watch.
that except for the board, which is always first, no particular order of the departments, because I do want to just recognize that I'm doing this on behalf of the district, and just to thank
Okay.
all district staff for the parts that they play. This is not my work, this is our collective work. So we will start with the ministry.
for
The
it.
ministry shared in August of last year that their key priorities were as follows. They promised childcare on school grounds. These are just the same slides I shared in the beginning. I won't read them. What I will share is what the outcome was. Let's hide that out of the way. There we go. So what we have is a 2-year funding extension for the district early learning and childcare position. You'll learn a little bit later in the meeting. The board will update you on some policy changes that were made to the childcare order captured here. And again, just to remind folks that they have a pause on the $10 a day daycare and a pause on new child care spaces fund. A little bit later, you'll see there was some additional monies to open up other spaces not related to this. In terms of the workforce, there was a promise to develop a framework so that we can ensure some consistency around qualifications for EAs across the province. That is still being worked on, and I want to thank the many KP members across the province that are engaged in this process. They are so very valuable to supporting our students. The ministry also promised to improve processing times for teacher certification, because we recognize we do have the need for more teachers in our province. While they promised 14 days to process folks who are coming from out of province, I don't think they've quite reached the 14 days, but our HR department reports that there have been some quicker processing times. So hopefully we'll see consistency, because again, we know that teachers, especially teachers in Canada, are more than welcome to teach in BC, and we'd love for their certifications to be processed quicker so we can hire them. The literacy screening was another initiative from the Ministry of Education. And I will just mention in our district, again, we actually do not like the term screening because it has connotations of, screening for looking for problems, as opposed to assessment tool, which is how we like to frame it, because we know that timely, effective assessment allows the teacher to better plan for the learning needs for the children. So this literacy assessment is ongoing work. There is a provincial K-12 working group working on the framework. And in the interim, we are able to continue to use the tool we've been using for a few years now, the ELP, or the Early Learner Profile. And we will be able to continue to use that until such time as they introduce a new tool. And we are assured that teachers will be provided with adequate partial learning in how to use the tool, and we will be watching it very carefully, again, to ensure that equity and dignity of our learners are upheld. For FESL, they have moved to a 3-year reporting cycle. The folks remember last September, I provided our overview. It was a snapshot report. This year we have been chosen, whoops, here it is. This year we've been chosen for September to provide a full report. We just received the new template last week, so that will be summer work. And the FESL, again, the Framework for Enhancing Student Learning, replaces our earlier website and data sets, because this captures 10 key areas, from intellectual development to social emotional learning to belonging, etc. And we complement this report with our local data sets as well. So that will be another report in September, which I'll be happy to provide. For curriculum updates, if folks recall, Holocaust education is now mandatory. I think that came as a surprise to many of us that it was optional. In our district, again, happy to report that is something that our teachers do teach, but now it is mandatory across the province. As well, we spoke about the CPR and AED education in place, and I'll mention a little bit later, another slide, but that aligns with the provision of AEDs, or what is it called again? Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for heart attacks and whatnot in all of our schools. So that is in place. And here it is. This is the next slide. That makes sense, I guess, right? Not internal. So we've met all the requirements, and if folks remember, prior to the new year, we actually had everything in place well ahead of schedule. So we're more than on track. So that's fantastic. Thank you to Finance for procuring that. For cybersecurity, earlier today, actually, we had a presentation camera about that. And this is just the update that this is ongoing work with the Ministry of Education and our main sort of business side of things, focused education resources, which is the provincial sort of warehouse for getting great deals on all the things that we need. So as a mid to smaller district, we're very thankful to connect with other districts and improve the buying power to make sure all of our data, especially student private information, is safe. The education for human flourishing, this is something that is actually something to be very proud of as an educational jurisdiction. While we recognize there are still lots of challenges in public education, BC is the only non-nation that is specifically included as part of this this work because of the quality of our education system. And from time to time, as you know, our schools are selected to engage in the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, and that gives a sort of worldwide view of how students are doing in core curricular areas that we're seeing critical thinking, etc. And so looking forward to where they've moved to in 2029, and it may not come as a surprise with the inclusion of BC that PISA is moving towards a competency-based assessment. So we just are very hopeful that current climate around education stays in place, because we know, again, we're preparing kids for uncertain futures. It's the competencies that are going to see them through rather than straight memorizations. A little bit of editorial I said I wouldn't do, but I did. Couldn't resist. Okay, so the learning plan, more related to curriculum for the province. Again, some repetition, but these were slides I shared, so I didn't want to not share them. We talked about screening tools, resource, the mandatory screening in 2025. But of course, I don't know why that's on the bottom now. Sorry about that. This has been pushed a little bit. So again, originally the tool on it does say, yeah, it is coming in coming years. And we've been doing our assessment tool with the ELP prior to this date, by the way. Indigenous education. So this is a reminder that the Indigenous focused non-instructional day continued for this school year. And of course, we do work very closely with our IEC on this. And it's just a reminder that the Squamish culture and language focus was in the south at Don West Middle School, with the Statlium focus for the Liwat, Kwakwa, and Shamakwam Nation in the north at Pemberton Secondary School. And I know we reported out on that earlier in the year, and very thankful for the collaboration and the partnership that we have with the nations on whose lands we work, live, and play. The Safe, Caring, and Inclusive Schools worked on updating a number of policies, resources, and reminders of the tools that we have as a province. All of these things we share periodically through our schools, through our counselors. All of our resources have been updated. As folks know, any student in the province and our district, of course, can anonymously report any issues of bullying. And those are handled very discreetly and taken seriously, and we always follow up when we learn. So happy to share that information. I would also remind the board and families that on our website for Safe and Caring Schools, as part of our district resources for families and students, we have links to ERASE and all the tools and resources mentioned here. And I'll share as a district, we've also been continuing to provide learning for our leaders in compassionate systems leadership. And I'll share that was alongside the SSTA, the Teachers Association, who also brought the same person on board that we had throughout the year to provide some learning so we can have shared language together. How's the pace?
Good.
Okay, great. So now I'm actually going to move to what we shared we would be focusing on. Again, this is just a snapshot and high-level things. Of course, a school and school district does far more than just what you're going to see on the page. But first thing, just a quick update. I know we'll speak later to this too, on our new strategic plan. So this was the original timeline that we shared. And, you know, we've been taught by very wise people that sometimes things take a little bit longer to get them done right. So we have taken our time. I wanted to ensure that we had as full opportunity for input as possible. And some of those folks that we really wanted their input on took a little bit longer to find dates that would work for all of us. So I'm really proud of the work that was done, and we'll speak later about it. But we're looking to a launch around the winter time. And I think it will be time well spent to get it done right. So stay tuned for that. Okay, Board of Education. Well, you had a very busy year, not just working on all these items in the strategic plan. So what I've done for each of these slides in black are the items that we were going to work on, and in blue is a little bit of detail about some of those things. So again, the board worked very hard on the strategic direction, the collective aspiration, all the values, priority statements, attended working group sessions for the strat plan. We continued with our hybrid in-person and online board meetings. You approved the FESL report in September. You supported the rollout of the new education councils as per the new legislation. Many of you attended many events in support of the work that you do. Policy development, we had a pretty ambitious plan and had additional policies, both from the ministry and ourselves added forward. So yeah, you completed 3 from the 200 series, which is basically board and trustee business, 5 from the 700 series business. What do we call that? Business procedures or whatnot. We reviewed animals on school property. We did 5 from community school relations. We had a new initiative, a new policy from the ministry, response to unexpected health emergencies, the new policy 611 learning resources, and the new policy 808 naming of schools and district facilities. You attended and reviewed fall, spring school learning plans, and attended or took part in 2 education sessions, one on all the resources available from the BCSTA and an Indigenous focus Jordan's principle. Thank you.
That's a nice review.
There we go. At the district level, some repetition, of course. We prepared FESL for you, help facilitate the strategic plan process. As part of that and ongoing work with student engagement and voice, I mentioned the beautiful story of attending a fishbowl with elementary students from Valley Cliff Elementary, which was fantastic. Again, the wiseness of little ones cannot be understated. We annually review our local education agreement with LEWAT. It is up for renewal next year, so that's very exciting to work on that together. For program reviews, again, quite ambitious. We had both cultural journeys, learning expeditions, so STATMUS and Sea to Sky online. We didn't get to STATMUS. Lots of other things came up and reasons for that, and the nation also wanted to hold as other things got in the way of finding dates and time to meet together. So that will happen next year. And the accessibility plan was a commitment to expand the committee, and which we have done. So more people are involved, including parents, which we're very thankful for. And as you mentioned, thank you to Deepak for running that for us. For curriculum instruction and assessment, continued work on our district literacy and numeracy plan. We spoke about literacy. There was a new grant that came into effect that we will be able to spend next year in support of literacy across all grades. So we have a working group signed up for that. I mentioned the curriculum amendments earlier. There was a updates last year to the reporting order. It's a busy time, so lots of support there. And Pam, our director of construction for this portfolio, wanted to share a fabulous opportunity for learning as presented by Dr. Melanie Nelson from UBC on Indigenous lens, looking at assessment through the Indigenous lens, and then just some highlights of the professional learning opportunities that were provided. And again, I feel every year it's important to note that the professional learning of staff is something this board has always and continues to support. So thank you for that on behalf of educators For technology, again, our tech plan, real focus on the cybersecurity and protection of privacy. We've centralized all our devices to, again, ensure better costs and replacement on a 5-year cycle. Continuing to support spaces for digital portfolio, but we're going to be probably revisiting that next year to see is it really meeting our needs. The UDL approach, using technology as a tool to support learning. So again, all students in the district have access to a suite of assistive technology because we know things like text readers actually benefit everyone. Professional learning we talked about, and we provide ongoing training for new and newer PVPs, clerical and counselors around the use of MyEd. We are just feel like we're just looking, just what's the word, cleaning back the onion of all the things actually MyEd can do when it works in terms of being an excellent tool for data collection and storage rather than a suite of other things. And then again, our finance department is super busy on a number of things, including cross training around payroll, updating all our financial operational finance procedures. We are going to be reviewing and continue to review how we budget. Again, centralizing some budgets to ensure really clear understanding of where we are in the budget. Standardizing school operating budgets, more news to come on that. They of course had to fulfill all their quarterly financial reporting duties, 2-year financial plan, which was discussed earlier in the finance committee, and over lots of things. What I'm very happy to see, of course, are all the tick boxes, right? That we were able to follow through. Again, I know I'm still in some thunder from later on when we talk about the committees, but I did want to have in here our capital plan submissions that we followed through on what we said we were going to do from last year, including again asking for the house on secondary seismic upgrade and expansion, for an application for new spaces for Squamish Elementary, knowing that was, I think we just got that one in under the wire. This summer, the promised Murdo Philip School in Pemberton secondary HVAC upgrades will be happening. And there was numerous roofing and window upgrades at various sites.
Sorry, can I just speak about the Squamish Elementary thing? So that one was the one we got declined on.
That's the one that got delayed, and then it's later on there's
No, that one we were declined.
right.
So that's the one we were going to put like a big childcare center to replace the current portable. And in the budget announcement, they said that funding actually has been discontinued.
That's right. You reminded me the tick was that
The
we
other ones.
applied, but we didn't get it.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that.
I know there's a lot of things
Mhm.
going on.
And then I'll just go to the, I think it's important to note, we time to time get wonderful questions about what we're doing about climate change and the environment as an organization. And just reminded to folks that every year our facilities publishes our strategic energy management plan, the SEMP. Folks can find that under facilities, where we actually record the number of CO2 emissions, et cetera, that we capture or save every single year, given the upgrades that we make. So it's actually a very comprehensive document to look through. The renovation projects that we applied for through annual facilities grant and the minor capital fund. You'll see things that look like repetitions, but they're actually because certain pieces are capital plan, others are ASG, and all the different funding envelopes. I'm going to skip reading everything out because it's all there. School food programs, again, really excited that Feeding Futures is now part of the budget. And so we have some surety this will continue year to year from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. We're year 2 of 5 of the National School Food Program, and these funds, again, has helped us to ensure access stigma-free access to food, healthy food across the corridor, and recognizing that Squamish does have the privilege, I guess, of being a bigger center, so able to do earlier some more exciting things. Recently, there was the opening of the Squamish Can Work at the 55 Activity Center. We were able to have a tour of the beautiful kitchen, where all of the food for Squamish is now being prepared. Huge thank you to Squamish Can and the enormous work that they do, and to Marin thank you, Corkery, who is our school food coordinator for all of that work. And Whistler Community Service Society, Whistler Hampton Food Bank, Stewardship Pemberton, lots of beautiful partnership. And I want to say that the support from families to help subsidize the work is greatly appreciated. What we do for kids across the border actually could not happen without the support of families and other donors. I think we worked out that it was under, I think it was 78 cents a day is what we're actually funded for. So the wonderful contribution from families and donors and partners is tremendously appreciated. Under learning services, okay, lots of work done here as well. Again, there is a mental health and school strat plan in year 2. And some of the things that were done to support that first bullet there was the idea of 1-pagers of information for folks on various topics so that we're easily understood. Lots of ongoing professional learning for staff, and lots of wonderful work with our community partners. Continue to work on anti-ableism, biases, accessibility, both at accessibility committee meetings, but this work is also shared at school and at district levels. We have our meetings with our school leadership and at individual staff meetings. The IEP process has been hopefully a little bit simplified through My Ed. There's a competency-based IEP that's been worked on by many folks across the province, including Philip Clark, who, by the way, has been elected president of BC CASE, which is the provincial Association of Inclusive Education Administrators. So
Good for
shout out to Philip Clark for next year. Yep. Oh, there it is there. Continue to work with the BC Council for Administration of Inclusive Education. And finally, we completed a 3-part series in collaboration with UBC Teach Education Professor Dr. Hutchinson around collaborative models. Interesting, same title that we have, to support inclusive and universally designed spaces. Lots of wonderful interest in teachers in that 3-part session. Take a breath. For early learning and childcare, I wanted to ensure that I provided you some numbers. So at Brackendale Elementary, we're really proud we're able to continually offer 24 spaces, and those spaces, some are part of the day, some are other hours of the day. So that means that we're able to support more than 35 families with childcare, and that's all done with 3 staff members. So big shout out to those folks. We implemented the new Signal Hills before and after school care. The 12 to 24 spaces has to do with the age of the children in terms of the size you can have. That's why there's a range. That is supporting 30 plus families, again with 3 staff. And then if folks remember the opening of the Valley Cliff preschool, the Munmun, beautiful building there that supports 12 infant toddler and 24 30 months to 5 years old. We have 2 grants applications in. That's the one I was getting confused about, for the 24 spaces at Mount Elementary. Did I get that right, Secretary Treasurer?
Those
Okay.
are not approved.
Nope, but
So
they're
sitting
they're
in.
in.
They're in.
So hopefully it's a yes. We know the need in the corridor. And again, always important to give the shout out and thank you with the partnerships that we have with the community to help us in this work. And then in early learning, lots of work done, lots of opportunities for staff to take part in learning, receive resources for the exploration of balanced literacy and numeracy through play. We mentioned the ELP, and then the changing possibilities for young children. I can't recall the acronym now, but some of the funding has changed, but that work, the work continues around that. There's lots of joy in the early years for sure, including wonderful improvements to resources families receive for welcome to K. In Indigenous education, board staff support the IECs in the secretariat role. Of course, we have responsibilities to the LEA and to our protocol agreements with the nation. Again, both nations there are looking forward to review next year. We're in year 2 of the ILT positions for Indigenous education North and South. So those are new positions last that the board approved for additional supports for teachers. Thank you so much for that. Elders and residents, I'll just mention that it's well in place in the South, ongoing for the North, and we mentioned the Jordan's Principal session earlier. Nearing the end, I promise. In international education, again, there is a strategic plan that we follow. One piece I'll mention, while the intent, right, the goal was to increase the number of homestays, we know the pressures on families and in order to provide a space. We were able to increase that by 10 in Pemberton, which is fantastic. And in Squamish and Whistler, number basically remains the same. Due to, I'll just say, maybe current global factors, we know we have more work to do and would love to welcome more diversity in our students. We tend to really pull from European countries, and we know that we would love to see a little more diversity in the folks who come to our schools. We have some, of course, but we'd like to see some more. The department was really hopeful to increase the number of students staying more than 1 year for some continuity. Let's do a full, a grade 11 and 12 experience. We don't have that yet. Most folks stay for the year or a semester. And again, due to the current political climate, I'll say, we weren't comfortable sending kids abroad as we spoke about earlier, especially if they're going to the US, given some of the things there. But we hope that changes soon because we know the value of experience outside of our country. Second last, human resources. We had on here the bargaining. Bargaining for CUPE is coming up in the fall. That's provincial. Our CUPE staff asked for similar types of opportunities for feedback on their work. And so the EAs have been done, and we're just working on clerical staff. And we again appreciate their desire to also say, hey, here are the wonderful things that we're doing, and what are some things we can do better as well. The wellness committee from the Human Resources Department, that is continuing. There are still some sites that are still working on how best they would like to implement that. The Guardian Minds at Work, we had committed to another survey that happened in springtime. Lots of learning around BCPC and the recruitment and retention piece. We continue with a hybrid so that we can attend as many things as possible, some in person and some online. And our diversity hiring initiative continues. So folks remember we have an arrangement with the BC Human Rights Commission to do our best to ensure that proportional representation of visible and invisible minorities are present in our schools, so kids see themselves represented in the adults that support them. That continues until we meet that threshold. And finally, in communications and media, Jen wanted to share that the ongoing use of connecting SD48, that's our public engagement platform, has been used to great effect for a number of projects, and folks can just go on under engagement on our website, see a list of all the engagement opportunities that's been provided. And yeah, continuing to do our best to improve our communications, both in real time and proactive measures, so folks have access to the information that they need when they need it, and continuing to work on showcasing all the fantastic things happening around the district. Whew.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a year.
Merci. It was a year.
That was a year.
Yeah, thank you to the board. Lots of work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from trustees? No? Okay. You must have nailed it, Chris.
Okay,
No
thank you.
questions,
I
no?
know it's long. I'm
No,
trying
it
to
was good.
unshare my screen. Give me
It
a
was good.
moment.
Thank you.
Feel free to do it for me, Archie. I've lost the, oh, there it is.
Okay, so moving on, we have no receiving delegations. Under trustee items, we have the trustees' strategic planning update, which I'm guessing is referring to the event that went on yesterday. And mostly I was the only trustee in attendance, so I'll carry it. Rachel was there briefly for about, she arrived at lunch and probably left within about 2 hours. So, and anyway, she's not at this meeting, so I will try to cover. It was, and I'm going to let Chris and Paul jump in too, because it was such a day that I'm never going to be able to capture all that went on. It was really an impressive day. We held it at Myrtle Phillip in their community, one of the big community rooms. It was beautiful environment to be in, apart from the chairs, which were incredibly uncomfortable. Apart from that, it was really great. Kevin led us through it in various sections. So what basically happened was we took the work that we had done on, you said the date today. Yeah, June 20th. No, May 20th. May 20th. We took the work that we had done on May 20th, and I'm guessing when he left here on May 20th that he put it into some kind of something that he took all of our comments and made the statements and the supporting facts underneath it. And he then put that out basically for feedback to all of the other groups that were represented in the room. So we had all the same groups that have been involved right from the beginning in the feedback sessions. So we had the Indigenous, the elders, we had CUPE represented, we had Sea to Sky teachers were there. Yeah, because that was, we had Sea to Sky teachers were there, CUPE was there, principals, vice principals were there. PAC was there, ILT was there.
Finance and maintenance.
Yeah. All the groups were there. And then we did the same thing. We did basically the same thing that we did on May 20th. And it was really interesting at some points because do you remember we talked a lot? This is just a little sidebar. I remember we talked about the word thrive. And I was mostly determined that we were taking it out, and it overwhelmingly got put back in again. And so that was it. Like, it was interesting. It was a great process. So now we're going to see, now he's going to take all of the feedback from all of the paper that we all wrote on all day and put it in. That's the next level of feedback. And then I'm not sure what the next steps are. So I'm going to turn that over to Chris because I'm not 100% sure what the next steps are.
Sure. And just for some added context, So after the work of the board, Kevin also met with the senior team. So that included myself, Paul, the directors of instruction, Dave Duncan from HR, and Danielle from finance. And from that work, we also developed some high-level goals and some draft statements. And so that was also provided. And so it's actually me, don't mind saying, who took everything together, created that document, sent it to Kevin and said, did I capture it? And
Okay, I didn't know that piece.
that was me, yeah. So we were able to provide everyone with an overview of all the work done this far. And I will make the point that we purposely did not define the goals for Indigenous education, which was one of our priority areas. That was taken to the IEC for their feedback, and they provided some draft statements that were also worked on and further refined during the course of the day we met at Myrtle Phillip. And so you're absolutely correct. Next steps, he is going to take all of that.
Yeah.
And the next step will actually be going back out to the community, to the groups, right? To say, did we capture this correctly? Because he's very, and I appreciate this, ensuring that we validate. Did we capture what you said? Again, everything you say doesn't get into the strat plan, but do you feel heard? And did we capture it? And can you live with it? Right? Is this where we collectively want to go? So that's the next step.
Mhm.
So we'll do some further refinement. And what I will share is and I know, Paul, you probably say the same thing because you said the same thing to me at the end of it. Is it felt like this was the moment that we were waiting for, was this acknowledgement and engagement and excitement around the room, that people felt engaged and heard because we did it in person. And you had right representatives from everyone there, including the entire ILT. So we purposely chose that date so we would get all the groups, including our wonderful teachers, right, who have that very important on the ground role of that instructional leadership. So yeah, it was super engaging, very well attending. The day went by so fast.
Yeah.
And they also worked in the afternoon, right, on the dreaming, on these are your goals and priorities. How do you make this come alive? What are other strategies and structures in place? Also honoring the work that we currently do. So I think that's really important to state as well. This isn't throwing out the old plan. There are some beautiful things in that plan that, of course, will continue. And I think would be very well captured under those 5 priority areas. And last thing, I know I'm doing a lot of accolades to the board. I'm not sucking up, I promise. But it's really worth noting that Kevin made the point more than once.
Yeah.
And that the fact that the board was open to, of course, we want to bring back the lived values. This is us. It's not 7 people. It's got to be the work of everyone. And for people on the ground, from QP to teachers, to have input onto, well, what is our aspiration? What is our goal as a district? But what are our values? He shared that many boards don't want any input into that, which to us was like,
What?
well, it's our work. Oh yes.
Yeah, I did not hear that
He-
piece.
I-
I heard him make comments that there was an awful lot of districts that weren't where we are in terms of
Engagement.
yeah, in terms of engagement. That there
No, he
was a
did
lot.
say
Yeah, he
that
did
that
say
the
that.
work of the board sometimes,
Okay,
and which is fine. That is the prerogative of the board to hold on to that. But
Yeah.
he did share that was
yeah,
very obviously well received by everybody in the room to
Yeah.
have that opportunity. It was fun. A lot of slogging through words.
oh my gosh,
but
what
boy,
a bunch
people,
of words.
people took it seriously.
Like I'm
Words
telling you.
matter. Some
Are you
I might
kidding?
have, but okay, I think we're there, but maybe not. But
No.
that's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Taking out this word
to
and
get
putting in
that
this word and
engagement. Yeah. And then by being a part of it, you have the excitement to do the work.
I mean, he did make a comment, which kind of stuck with me too, that at some point,
Yeah, you gotta stop.
at
with the-
some point, We gotta stop rewriting, like
That's right.
rewriting every sentence and
Winter people, right?
getting
Fall,
all the
winter.
words. And at some point he says, you
2026.
gotta draw the line and say,
Yes.
okay, we're good. This is, like we could keep on wordsmithing this forever. But one comment or a couple of comments that came at the end of the day from different participants in the room where it was like, wow, you guys, us guys who wrote it with Kevin on May 20th, you gave us a really good high place to start at. And we couldn't have wordsmithed it to make it even better had we not had this amazing starting place. And because some of them hadn't seen it since before May 20th and was very pleasantly surprised that it had taken that big of a jump. So it went from here where they had seen it, and then when they saw it yesterday, it was already here. So they just needed to take it just a little bit more. But anyways, I'm still not probably thrilled with that one particular word, but we'll live with it.
Flourishing, thriving.
Thriving, flourishing, those words. But
That's buzzwords.
anyway, it is what it is. It was good. It was very good. Thank you. Yes, Melissa, go ahead.
Will there be another day where we're all together, or is that kind of it for the?
So the board has the final say. So we made that clear as well. So again, your piece, the shared purpose, collective aspiration and values. So the feedback will be provided, the suggested from that big group and other feedback that we receive. And then yes, there'll be that opportunity to look through it all and make the determination. Yep, we're happy with this. Now write the rest of the pieces that support our strategic direction, because that is your governance responsibility, is the strategic direction. So 100% you have the final say.
And the essence of what the work we did on May the 20th has not been changed. You will still see it in there. It's just been played. The words have been maneuvered around and played with a little bit, but really the essence of the work that we did on May the 20th is the ed plan. Any other thoughts or questions on that? Paul, did you want to jump in and say anything?
I think most of it's been said. I was really also happy with the day. I think, what happened yesterday was, I said to Chris on the drive home, I think it was a turning point in the process for a lot of the groups. It was an opportunity to really roll up the sleeves and do the work.
Right.
And more importantly than the words that were chosen, the engagement was the most important thing about what happened yesterday. People just felt connected to the process. And if, I've said before, if we don't have that, then we don't have an effective plan. So I was really happy with how that went yesterday.
I was also a piece that I'll just share with everybody. We broke into these groups. We were in groups of 3 or 4, and one group had Shar in it. And I was so impressed with the feed, like with the presentation of what they said, because she actually captured a lot of what was said in her language, in Squamish language. And I hope that we can somehow get some of that into it, because it just really was like unbelievably impressive that she did that. And she captured a whole concept in a single word from Squamish Nation. And she said, okay, this is what you're saying, and this word is what we have in our language, and it means this. And the meaning from the Indigenous word just took it up the next level.
I may have made that commitment to them. I shared that before about the importance of language and that the importance of Ukamuch and Squamish being throughout, and even, like a reading of how X is applied in the north using the Ukamuch phrase will be different than in the south, capturing the same concept, but specific to, and the importance of using that language moving forward as we do the work.
And both of them said,
that's a gift, by the way, from Steve.
super unbelievable. And it was said yesterday afternoon during the session that how appreciative the nations were, that they were actually being heard. And I think it would include that piece of putting in the language. And then last night at the graduation ceremony with the blanketing ceremony, that was, I believe, the reason behind why we were blanketed, because they actually said at that ceremony, thank you so much. We feel we have been heard. And what an amazing growth for this district, I think. Made me really proud.
Well, just to expand on that, you know, what I heard yesterday as well from the nations, is they really appreciate the relationship we have. And
Yes.
they made a point of saying that the relationship that we have doesn't exist in a lot of districts. And so because we've had this good relationship for a number of years, we're already starting from, you know, a position of strength.
Right.
And so it just makes this work that much more meaningful. And I'll say too, that I do think there's been really good engagement all the way along. I don't mean to suggest there was only engagement yesterday.
No.
There has been really good engagement all throughout the process. I think what I meant was that it was kind of the melding of the work of the board and an opportunity to actually, for the group to do some writing in terms of what it might look like at the end of the day. Because I think up to that point, it was giving feedback. Yesterday was more about, okay, let's roll up our sleeves and do some writing of some of the, you know, what this might look like. And I think that was super exciting so it was a very good, productive day. I think the group is probably looking forward to the next step.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. All right, board committees. So public relations. Do you have anything, Melissa? Nothing? You didn't? Okay, hang on a second. I gotta quickly pull up my notes from the meetings today. So the first one I need to report back on is the committee of the whole. So during the committee of the whole meeting today, we went over the trustee calendar that was set for the next year. We talked about our board meeting dates. We had a presentation from Danielle, but she got from, what is your?
BC ASBO.
BC ASBO about board meeting procedure. We talked about the upcoming election and about the need to onboard our new board. We talked about the election cycle coming up and the dates. And I think that I've captured it all in case I've missed anything. So that takes care of the committee of the whole. We do have a recommendation. Could somebody read the recommendation, please?
That the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on May 13th, 2020 be adopted.
Thank you, Melissa. Could I have a second? Thank you, Celeste, and all in favor? And that is carried. Now we have a policy.
April, you will have to vote too.
What's that?
You will have to vote as well
Yeah.
on all the motions.
Last, okay, I was just voting, we just voted on the recommendation.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Carried. Gavel. No, carried. Yes, go ahead.
Speaking of that, if I go to the bathroom and we lose quorum, is the meeting gonna have to stop?
Yes.
If we're not,
Yes.
even if Chris is just talking.
Only if
I
you're
see-
making motions.
Yeah, look, we've
Okay,
done that.
I'm gonna wait for the next.
Yes,
thing.
I
We
can,
just
I
have
can,
to
I
do
can
the-
talk
We
a
have to do
lot
the
if you need me
policy
to.
and the
Because
finance.
now I'm really afraid that Danielle's gonna say.
I know. No, I understand. It's because of
Yes,
quorum. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
I will try to remember.
Yeah, it's
As
just
long
for,
as
it's
we're
just
not
for
voting.
motions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the
We'll get
motions.
through this
Okay.
next little bit.
So now I gotta find my policy. So today during our policy committee meeting, no, that's finance. Oh, where's policy? Oh, heaven's sake. Lost my policy committee. Wow, I just had it. Finance, committee of the whole, come on. Okay, now I'm gonna have to use my memory for what we did at policy. Thank you. Policy committee, we went over we talked about the review schedule. Then we talked about policy 808, which was naming of the schools. We talked about, and Chris shared with us, it went out for input. He gave us feedback on that. We talked about policy 804, animals on school district property. And again, Chris shared the district seems to have reached an agreement on that. We talked about some furry goats, which was kind of fun. Policy 906, childcare, and we talked about the changes on that, and mostly if I can remember, most of the changes that we pointed out were housekeeping changes. And I think that was the end of the policy committee, but we do have a recommendation here for policy. So could I have somebody read the policy recommendation, please?
But the minutes of the policy committee meeting held on May 13th, 2023.
Thank you, Melissa. Could I have a second? Thank you, Lisa, and all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we have the finance committee. Now, this was, of course, a longer meeting. We had we had a presentation from our auditors. We had a presentation of the 3-year financial plan from Danielle and Alana. We had lots of questions and good responses from that. We had a major capital submission from Ian, which was quite a bit shorter of a list than it often is, which I guess reflects the condition of finances today. Then we had annual budget summary again by Danielle and Alana. And I believe that we have a recommendation from the finance committee. So the recommendation.
That the minutes of the finance committee meeting held on May 13th, 2026 be adopted.
Thank you, Lisa. Could I have a second? Thank you, Celeste, and all in favor. Thank you very much, and that is carried. Okay. Right. Okay. Now moving on, under general in section 8, we have no business arising. Information items, we have a strategic plan update. I think we've covered that. Chris,
Yes, that's
have
a
we?
standing item, but we covered it earlier,
We've
so
covered
nothing
it.
to add.
Thank you. Okay. Much anticipated enrollment report, Mr. Lorette. Go for it.
Okay, try to be funny and say something sarcastic, but I will not do that. Archie, thank you very much for bringing that up on the screen. So really, this is just an update. It's very informal. The numbers are not necessarily perfectly accurate. So we always start our process in preparing for the following school year in February. And at that time, we do a prediction of what we think our enrollment might look like in September. And so you can go to the next slide, Archie. So what we do is we look at our demographer information, we talk to our principals, we look at historical numbers, and we come up with a very conservative estimate of what we think our enrollment may be in the following September. And then our preliminary budgets are built around that enrollment. And so, and the reason we're conservative is we don't want to overestimate and then have to, you know, have fewer students arrive in September, and then we have to cut back on our budget. We'd rather add to the budget than back on the budget. So then what we do around this time of year is do just a little bit of a check-in to see where the enrollment's at. So the methodology is I simply go in and I look at all of the school enrollment information, put it all in a spreadsheet and calculates what's the difference between what our enrollment is at right now, mid-June, to what our predictions were back in February. And so you can see here on this first slide that we had predicted roughly 5,064 school-age students. And where we're at right now, and I'm just looking at FTE, and I actually don't think that should say FTE. I think that should probably be head count. So, so this does not, these numbers, yeah, this should not be FTE because this doesn't take into consideration students taking additional courses out of the
Oh,
timetable
right.
or anything like that. So
Okay.
it's just the number of students.
Okay.
So you can see that there's not a big difference. It's really about 18 students up. But that's still good
Mhm.
because oftentimes in the summertime, we can see anywhere from 50 new enrollments to 80, 90, 100 new enrollments. But also some folks could be moving away as well. But what we don't want to see at this time of the year is a big decrease in our projections to now. So even though it's a very small increase, it's still an increase. So that's good. So you can go to the next slide, Archie. Please. Thanks very much. So this just kind of shows the distribution of the numbers. It shows an overall difference of 18 students. And do keep in mind that the projection numbers are accurate because those are the projection numbers that we had in all of the school workbooks. But the June snapshot, we still have enrollments coming in. We have wait lists and et cetera. So this just gives us a sense that we're actually moving in the right direction of enrollment and isn't an exact number. The only real exact number that counts is the September, end of September number when we complete our final count that our actual funding is actually based on. So this is, as I say, just a very quick snapshot for the board just to see that we're moving in the right direction. And that's it.
I feel like we should clap. Just because Danielle had.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, no. That was not
Okay.
deserving of applause.
Okay.
It
Well,
was
it's in the
important
class, so
information.
I think that deserves. applause.
It was
Happy to
important
see that.
information and I think.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You happy with it?
That it's up.
That it's up. I'm happy with that
That's the
too.
that's the magic detail is that it is going in the right direction. for sure.
Yes. Well, even that, it's not going down. It's something
right.
to celebrate in June, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, and we'll likely keep.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you so much for that. Now I've lost it, got all excited. Okay, there we are. This is the addition to the amendment. This is what made the agenda amended. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it was just one of those 3 a.m. wake ups to go, oh my goodness, we have that requirement to provide the video surveillance report. So thank you so much to Ian Curry, Director of Finance and Operations, for providing the report. Good news, I guess, is that it's unchanged. Sorry,
He's not director of finance, just
did I say? Oh, that's in facilities. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
getting
I was-
tired and marble
okay.
mouthed. Thank you so much. There was no reappointment or change. Apologies. Facilities and operations.
Okay.
So the report again outlines the district's use of video surveillance, connects to policy. Policy says each year to provide an update, especially if there's been any changes to installed surveillance around our schools. There hasn't been any change. So the same information as last year's provided again. It outlines in the link, the report outlines all the facilities across the district that are equipped with video surveillance, explaining its use as per policy. And again, its use is for when necessary, reviewing recorded evidence that's been used to investigate incidences of vandalism, theft, and unauthorized entry. And important to note that we ensure all of that is done in compliance with all privacy and legislative rules and regulation. We continue to ensure that those legislative requirements around its use, who has access to video information, how long things are held, and of course, clear signage, both inside and outside of our sites where that applies, is done appropriately. We have no plans next year at this time and no budget for any changes or improvements to existing systems. If that does become an item, we'll be sure to bring that up. And really, no change except to say, again, folks can read the policy and read the information. And I'll just state for the record that we have video surveillance in place at the end and the conclusion there on school district buses and at 11 district sites, including 7 schools. And again, its intent is to enhance safety and security and ensure safe working and learning environments for everyone.
Okay, thank you for that addition, Chris. We have some attachments, media reports, field trips. We have some correspondence, which is the letter that we wrote to the District of Squamish, speaking about our concerns about their proposed site. As I reported earlier in the day that the District of Squamish has pulled the site that was in concern, and as of yet, I don't know if they have discovered another site, and I don't think we have had any response to that correspondence. Am I correct? Okay, so thank you. But for the public, you can read the letter that we wrote about our concerns and for the safety of children. Items for discussion, we have none. Policy motions. So here we have some recommendations for policy 808.
That the Board of Education adopt policy 808, naming of school and district facilities as presented.
Thank you,
Second.
Melissa. Thank you, Lisa, for a second, and all in favor. And that is carried. Now we have policy 906 under childcare. We have a recommendation there.
That the Board of Education adopt policy 906, childcare with housekeeping changes as discussed.
Thank you, Melissa.
Second.
Thank you, Lisa, for a second. All in favor. And that is carried. Action items, Valley Cliff Elementary School calendar. Mr. Lorette, your name's by there.
Okay, so as you know, from time to time, schools request to make small calendar changes. And so these need to come back to the board depending on the type of change. So this one does need to come to the board. Valley Cliff Elementary has requested that they would like to switch an early dismissal day. So I believe the day originally was a collaboration early dismissal day, maybe in December. And they decided that they would prefer to have the early dismissal earlier in the fall and change the purpose to a parent-teacher event of some sort. So basically, they're just moving one early dismissal day to another. And there's no change in the hours of instruction. That's it.
Okay.
So it's an easy one to do, and they have enough time to communicate this change to their school community next year starting it.
Okay, Melissa, I see your hand up.
I have a question. So they've moved it to October 22nd to be dismissed at 2, and then it's a Pro D day on the 23rd. Does that affect anything? That's fine.
That's
Thank you.
good eye.
Yeah, good eye. We have a recommendation, please.
That the board, oh, sorry.
You're right.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
Yep, that the Board of Education approve the updated school calendar for Valley Cliff Elementary as presented.
Thank you, Lisa, and a seconder. Thank you, Celeste, and all in favor. And that is carried. 2026 school trustee election, chief elections officer appointment. So we have a recommendation there.
That the board appoints Secretary Treasurer Halverstock as the chief elections officer for the 2026 school trustee election.
Thank you, Lisa, and a seconder. Thank you, Celeste, and all in favor. And that is carried. 5-year capital plan, Ian Curry. Is there somebody speaking to that? Because he did speak to it. I mean, I mentioned it in my summary of that meeting, that it was a very reduced list of what we've seen in the past, and I can remember the 3 items on the list. So it was the seismic upgrade of Howe Sound Secondary and the 2 options, either just the seismic upgrade, and then for a nominal amount, not much different, the second submission for the seismic upgrade that included the redo of the lanes.
And then the
And then
teacher,
the second
demolition.
one was,
the teacherage demolitions.
right, the 2 teachers demolitions, one in Blackwater and
Hillerton.
Pemberton. So that was what was on his 5-year capital plan that I believe he's going to
Good
be
job.
submitting by the end of June.
That's right.
Yay.
Good job,
Okay.
everyone.
And we have a recommendation there.
That the Board of Education approves the 2027-2028 major capital plan as presented.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Celeste, for seconding. All in favor, and that is carried. Items to be brought out of camera. So these 3 letters have been written to, the first one was to the District of Squamish regarding safe route for students going from Valley Cliff, Hospital Hill area, making their way to Squamish Elementary and Howe Sound Secondary through Hunter Place. The second one was about fencing that has been removed by the village of Pemberton and it has created a risk for the students at Signal Hill. And the third one was a letter to BC Hydro, which we actually did get a bit of a response from by BC Hydro regarding the same issue about the fencing. So we would like to bring those items out of camera so that they indicate our level of advocacy for our various communities. So recommendation, please.
There's no recommendation, but I have a question.
No recommendation. You're
No
right.
recommendation.
Go ahead.
Did we receive any responses?
Not from, the only response we have received is from BC Hydro. And actually the response we got from BC Hydro was, did you get a response?
Oh.
Yeah. So.
And then they said they were gonna
answered,
look
no,
into
we
it."
have not
Yeah.
received a response. So no, we have received no response from any correspondence that was generated at last month's meeting. Yeah, okay. So we do have, moving on, oh, no, we just bring those items out of camera. We don't need them. All. Okay, good. So now we have a bylaw recommendation. Somebody could read, please.
For the budget bylaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the Board of Education unanimously agreed to waive the requirements that first, second, and third reading of school district number 48, Sea to Sky, annual budget bylaw for the fiscal year 2026-2027 be given on different dates.
I believe she keeps reading.
No,
Mhm.
we need to vote on this.
Okay, so thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you, Celeste, for second. And all in favor? And that is carried.
This is another motion.
Okay, somebody read the big long one, please.
Annual budget bylaw, a bylaw of the Board of Education of School District number 48, Sea to Sky, calls the board to adopt the annual budget of the board for the fiscal year 2026-2027 pursuant to section 113 of the School Act RSDC 1996 C412 as amended from time to time called the Act. The board has complied with the provisions of the Act, ministerial orders, and Ministry of Education and Childcare policies respecting the annual budget adopted by this bylaw. 2, the bylaw may be cited as school district number 48, Sea to Sky, annual budget bylaw for the fiscal year 2026-2027. 3, the attached statement 2 showing the estimated revenue and expense for the 2026-2027 fiscal year on the total budget bylaw amount of
Mhm.
90,330,405 for the 2026-2027 fiscal year was prepared in accordance with the Act. 4, statement 2, 4 and schedules 2 to 4 are adopted as the annual budget of the board for the fiscal 2026-2027 year. Read a first time on the 17th of June, 2026. Read a second time on the 17th of June, 2026. Read a third time, passed and adopted on the 17th day of June, 2026.
There's a recommendation on the next page.
Yes.
That the Board of Education approves school district number 48, Sea to Sky annual budget bylaw for the fiscal year 2026-2027 as presented.
And a seconder. Oh, thank you, Melissa. And second. Thank you, Celeste. And all in favor.
Can I just make a
Conversation.
comment?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're all getting tired. So I just wanted to point out, normally you would have done this, April, that this was discussed at length in Finance Committee earlier today. And anyone wishing to see that discussion can just hop straight on YouTube and watch the discussion that was had about this particular bylaw there.
Thank you. I just had one tiny housekeeping. I'm really sorry, but on the last line on the before number 1 called the act, there's just an extra space in the quotation
Can
mark.
somebody catch that?
She
'Cause
just
I
fixed
missed
it. Or she just fixed
Perfect.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There's a few of them.
Did we haven't voted yet. But we did it. Did
All
we
in
do a
favor.
second?
All in favor.
Okay, carried. Any questions or clarification from the public?
No, they're none.
None? And so I call this meeting adjourned at 8:07.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Are we offline?